the cost of a mishire. How do you see it? What is your opinion about
Yeah, so that's a good question, Arun, to start with. So I mean, there are various factors you can talk about, but I will touch upon one single point. See, recruiter pain point, everybody knows that because we all come from the recruitment background, and the entire pressure is on a recruiter when there's a mishire, right?
Absolutely.
But what happens after that? I mean, a recruiter is not the decision maker, right? End of the day, the recruiter shortlists the CVs. He gives the CV to the technical panel. So if a recruiter misses a point there, the technical panel also misses a point there. Doesn't mean right. I mean, there's something wrong in the system. So which means the system has to be cleaned up, right? I mean, it is not only a recruiter fault. It is also the technical panel's fault which will be involved. So that is something which we need to talk about in detail. So if we are giving a particular CV to a technical panel which is not capable enough to interview a candidate, that's where the whole point starts. It's not about we bringing in the wrong person. It's also the 50% effort also lies on the technical panel, right? And then only if the technical panel gives a go ahead, we go ahead with the rest of the formalities,
Sure, sure.
right?
Great take. Great take. Primarily, the reason why interviews have multiple phases in it. Say first, just the candidate comes in. Then, comes in as in there is a technical assessment of sorts. Then there is this interaction with L1, L2, L3 interaction. In some senior positions, I'm sure Josh will comment on that. In some senior positions, it will be like 6, 7 rounds of interviews across various stakeholders, various perspectives, various questions, assessments come into play. So it as you rightly pointed, it cannot be on one person or one specific function of this whole process, whereas the focus needs to be widely spread across every stakeholder involved, right? So very well put, Praveen. Thank you. Josh, your opinion about this topic, this concept of a mishire.
True, Aaron. So while you speak about multiple rounds of interviews, there is a funny quote actually. So in India, marriages happen after 2 meetings, and hiring happens after 7, 8 meetings, sometimes 12 meetings. So despite a lot of people meeting and a lot of perspectives involved, always there is a gap. So what I understand from my perspective when it comes to leadership hiring, what I see is the TA function and the business functions are not in sync in most of the organizations. The HR function is in a different world, and the business is in a different world. And that's where people like comes where there is business partnering role, which is happening in the last decade. Okay, so but right now, if you ask me, still there is no 100% sync between the business and the TA function or the HR function. So the more the recruiter understands about the requirement of the organization level, and then the understanding about that individual who is going to hire. So that boss fitment, so we call it boss fitment. So we in Talent Factory we call it as JBC, job fitment, boss fitment, and culture fitment. So the recruiter should be able to understand all the 3 perspectives of the fitment. So that's where the magic happens. So that's one of the reasons, I see wrong hires happen, and especially in our cases where we deal with senior level positions, the dent will be much higher. So you put a wrong CEO, and it's a ship's captain, and when the captain is wrong, the ship is it's going to like drift away, no direction. So we are very careful in putting across a meticulous process in avoiding wrong hires. So I'm going after once we speak through, I'll also explain you about what we do different in our organization.
Absolutely, Josh. The JBC, job fitment, boss fitment, and culture fitment. If this coining of this term, I'm sure it is going to be very helpful for the people who are watching this video podcast and are keen at looking forward for interviews and hence their careers forward, right? So, on top of preparing their resumes, preparing for interviews, I think they will also be prepared how not to be a wrong hire. So, this JBC, job fitment, boss fitment, and culture fitment, will be of help. Definitely.
Exactly. This should help recruiters, basically, recruiters and TA leaders.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Agreed. Shobna?
Yeah, so as Josh rightly pointed out, right? So there is a non-sync between TA and the panel and all that business. So, but then when we deep dive into it, so the expectations from the client, so service-based companies usually, or maybe product-based companies, what happens is like the expectation from the person who's giving you the jobs, right? So generally, any companies talk to the clients, and they say we have so and so number of persons for this particular project. We can deliver the project within so and so time and all. So all those are like unclear timing, unclear expectation set, and this pressure goes from client to the company, and from the company to the TA team, and the TA team they don't have time. Within a fraction of they will have some targets, and they have to close the targets, and that's where with the pressure of time and target, they try to bring in somebody who has to fit in, or they don't fit in. So that's where the wrong hiring happens. But one wrong hire is going to disrupt the entire system. So that's the take.
Absolutely. Very well pointed, Shobna. So when you speak of pressure for the recruiters, right? So that's one major factor. The quantity of hires for a company or for a specific team, and the kind of prioritization and reprioritization that happens with time.
Absolutely.
Right? So that comes into picture. What other factors do you think contribute to a mishire? This is the why of this. Why does a mishire happen? Where is the gap? Where could be the gap?
What the companies does is, right, they talk to the client and get the project. They want to win that particular deal. So to win the deal, they don't give the real fact, right? So they generally say they onboard people, and they show that they have so and so number of people to deliver the project within this stipulated time. So they don't go with the real facts, so the real numbers to the client.
Sure.
So, and then the project starts within the steady state, or the pilot should start. So in order to get into the pilot stage, they bring in a bunch of people, chunk of people, like 100 plus, 200 plus, and they don't focus on the competency of that particular the project, whatever like that's required. Say if they want somebody for a DevOps or cloud engineering services, anything could be. They just go bring in some 100 plus, 200 plus, do campus hiring, or go to consultants, get them, not only one consultant, right? They work with multiple consultants. Generally, corporates works with multiple consultants, and not all consultants give the same kind of people, right? So they just give the number of people. What the companies does, they just mass hire them and put into the project. So that's how usually does. I think the gap is again between all the entire systems, right? As you rightly mentioned, from the consultant, from the client to the companies, and company to the consultants, third parties, contractors, and then comes to the TAs. But finally, what we generally blame is the hirer, which means the TA team, the recruiter. But recruiter does have that responsibility as well. But that there is a check. Maybe there is no time for him to do all those checks, basically.
Sure. I will probably take inputs from Josh. Josh, how do you see this? You also spoke of something similar. That about the misalignment, especially when it comes to communication, right from expectation setting, which is the writing of a job description as it passes through and becomes a candidate's offer. How do you see this? Is there a real aspect that could be a roadblock for such?
Sure, definitely. I'll address this with an example, real example, which I have come across in my life. So this was long back while I was a recruiter, and usually my hit ratio was about like 3:1, which means I send 3 profiles to my client, and the client amply onboards 1 candidate. So that was my historical record. And for the first time in the history, I was sending profiles after profiles, and my client started rejecting consistently. And I've sent him 8 good resumes who are exact fit for the job, and he was not happy and he rejected. So this made me curious. So I walked into his office, and then I asked him like, where I am going wrong, because historically I have this kind of hit ratio. And I see this different, and where I'm going now. If you could, elaborate me, help me understand what is exactly your expectation about this position. Then he came up with a weird answer. He said, Josh, I met 8 of your candidates. All are technically good. I completely agree with you. But 4 of them are from X community, and Y of them are from different Y religion. So I'm not able to hire from those communities right now. So initially I took him differently. I thought, okay, maybe, he's a weird person. Then he explained. He said, half of my team are belonging to that Y community, and half of the team of belonging to that X religion. So I don't want. So when the Y religion is celebrating some function, puja, something, half of my team is absent. I mean, they are taking leave. And the X religion, when that particular celebrations come, they are gone.
Okay.
So my work is suffering. So I wanted to have diversity in a different perspective. So give me people from a religion. Okay, cool. Then I understood. So because this is nowhere he can explain it in a job description,
Absolutely,
which is illegal, kind of unethical, and he can't even tell this to me over a phone call.
Absolutely.
Because I
While
might,
his expectation is fair,
exactly.
this can't
He's
be
a
on
fair person, but again, he was not able to communicate unless I had that coffee with him walking into his office. I would have never figured out or decoded his expectation.
Absolutely.
Then after this conversation, I came back to my office, sent him one resume, position got closed.
Great experience, great story for recruiters to learn. And most importantly, you called out diversity, the importance of the diversity when a recruiter looks at a job description, a closure of a position. And it also calls out to an in-person coffee session, an informal context, informal setting that brings out all of these intrinsic aspects, very subtle cues that people can't definitely pick it up when it's remote.
At the end of the day, we are in the human business. Absolutely. And, India, technically, it's a relationship-driven country.
Absolutely.
We are not very professional like Europeans or for that example. But India is driven with relationship, and it will be like that for at least for the next 50 to 60
I've
years.
seen people in corporates calling somebody Anna, Akka,
Exactly.
all of that. So that's how the...
that is unimaginable in other countries.
But not everyone is as proactive like you. You took that step to walk into SB, call him for a coffee. Not everybody does that.
So this
Maybe you would
this
have given an hint.
No, this is one thing we need to inculcate in our team members.
Absolutely.
Because as an HR leader, you will be having recruiters in your team. So you have to install this kind of thought process.
Absolutely.
And that makes them tomorrow a founder of a company.
Exactly.
So because I was passionate from day one, I was able to grow myself in that function. And today I have, I'm running my own organization. So this is possible only because of that passion. But as HR leaders and business leaders, it is our responsibility to mentor our team members, inculcate this culture in them, this thought process in them. So that is how they also grow in their career.
Praveen, so what's your perspective about the various factors that are at the background of this whole concept of a bad hire?
Yeah, so maybe what I can talk about is my personal experience. Like, if you look at it, right, I mean, it all starts from the grassroots level. So when you're building a company as a CEO, it's really important before you bring in a VP or a CHRO or XYZ, it's important for a CEO to build a talent acquisition team. Because it's very important that when a CEO works along with a recruiter, he gets to know the mindset, he gets to know the culture, and he gets an opportunity to work along with the CEO. So when this is built, I mean, I think that's where, the recent days you can see a lot of fancy designations coming in from product companies saying that founding team member, right? So that gives a weightage. You know why? Because, I mean, that adds a lot of value. So it all boils down there. I mean, the CEO has to give the input to the recruiter saying that this is what I'm looking for. As Josh rightly said, I mean, I don't know what is the team size of that particular company, but until about your 250 or 300, up to about 500 people of headcount, I think that is manageable. But when you cross more than 500, then the ball game is entirely different. So my opinion, I would say, the CEO has to have direct access to certain teams, and under that, I think talent acquisition also plays a vital role in terms of building the culture. So because when the culture is lost, everything is lost. I mean, you can't you can build anything. You can build a product, you can build the sales team, you can build the revenue, but you can't build a culture. I mean, that takes a lot of effort, right? And it's very, very invaluable.
Very well pointed, Praveen.